The ICSC Las Vegas conference is the biggest event in the retail real estate world. The pandemic put it on hold, but it is back. So in just a few days, around 20,000 people are going to arrive in Las Vegas. Taylor Coyne and I are going to be among them. This week, we're going to talk about the 5 big retail trends we're talking about going into, and more importantly, our top tips and tricks for ICSC attendees right now on everything we know about retail. My name is James Cook. I'm coming to you from Indiana. One Las Vegas thing that I'm really excited about is the Famous Foods Street Eats Food Hall. This is at the new-ish, it's like a year old maybe, Resorts World Hotel. It has 15 food stalls with food mostly from Asia, like Malaysia, Philippines, Bangkok, Hong Kong. Taylor, we're going to eat at every one of those stalls. You got it?
100% I'm committed to this. It's like, a new version of the retail challenge. It's an in-person food hall retail challenge.
I can't wait.
My name is Taylor Coyne and I'm in LA. One Las Vegas thing I'm excited about. So actually, I'm going to piggyback on yours. One, the first thing, main thing, finally visiting Area 15. I feel like that's probably old news for a lot of you. I know it's old news for James, even though they did open up in the pandemic. So everything
Area
counts as
15
new.
is an experience mall that is about a mile off the Las Vegas Strip. Not really a lot of stores, a bunch of ticketed experiences.
Meow Wolf, for everyone who's familiar, it's like gigantic art installation, very interactive. They've got it's Omega Mart. So super excited to check that out. But also, I'm excited to stay at Resorts World. It's like the first time staying someplace else. So I am truly excited that the food hall is steps away from our rooms. And that really just like meshes. I actually feel like that really goes into some of the ICSC advice we'll be getting into. So it's all good stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's why I wanted to stay at Resorts World this year is not just because it's a new hotel, but the food, the food hall. So this is everything we know about retail. We broadcast live on the internet almost every Thursday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. But you don't have to watch us live. We're always on YouTube over at everythingweknow.show. So ICSC Vegas is the biggest conference in the retail real estate world. I have heard 20,000 people coming this year. Not as big as it was in 2019, but it's getting back there. If you buy, sell, lease, develop retail properties in any way, your clients are going to be there and they're all going to be taking your meetings. So we wanted to share with you the top trends that are on our mind as we meet with clients this year.
So let's dive into it. First one, we're going to Las Vegas. That's an urban place. So we're talking all about urban recovery. So we are actually launching this report on this topic with a press event on Monday morning. So super exciting. When it comes out, this is what it's going to look like. It's great.
You can't go past page 1 though, Taylor, because I'm not joking. We're under press embargo until Monday morning. So
viewers, this is special.
Yeah, this is the front page, but you can't yet see what's inside. But tell us a little bit about what's inside, Taylor.
All right. So while you cannot see it, let me take you through it. Let me paint this picture for you. So we've obviously been talking about this one for a while, right? When are we getting back to normal? I think what the good news is, and my biggest takeaway from this report, is that we are finally at least in the middle of this recovery. It is not what has felt like for the past year plus of like talking about like, well, it will improve when X happens. It finally seems like we're seeing some of this. So we still need a full return of office workers and tourists to the city. And again, we're getting there. We're obviously not all the way there, but office occupancy isn't back to pre-pandemic levels, but more workers are coming in every single month. I like to give a call out to New York. At the beginning of the year, their office occupancy was at 18%. They are now at 37.4%, which Again, 37, sure. What was it pre-pandemic? Probably always roughly 80s in terms of like full occupancy of buildings. Of course, that's not a full recovery, but that is improvement. That is significant improvement from those numbers kind of middling at the bottom. So I think that that's awesome. Tourism is expected to increase as we head into the summer. And I'll say domestic tourism has pretty much been up for the most of our urban markets for a little while. That international tourism is going to be good. As we head into these warmer months, I think we can see a lot more visitors, and then return of casual sit-down dining. It's happening. Again, we're still not, for a lot of these markets, aren't at pre-pandemic levels, but we are getting there, which is exciting. And we can talk a little bit more about F&B in a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, is like, what does the city recovery look like, urban retail? And so that's the big conversation that we're
Yep.
going to be having with, specifically with clients that care about that. A lot of them only care about the suburbs, but our luxury clients,
Yep.
the DTC, like the digital native brands, they really care about what's going on in the city. So Taylor, I think for me, the big topic that I'm going to have in my head is inflation as we go into this, and what does it mean for retailers? Just like this week, we've had several big retailers announce that they missed their quarterly earnings. Target, Walmart, some others. Target, for one, said they're spending an extra $1 billion in fuel and freight costs this year that they weren't planning on. And that level of cost, they can't pass $1 billion onto consumers. So they have to eat some of it, and that eats into their profits. So that's just rough. And that's like just a supply chain and inflation issue that's hitting retailers. I think that's something we're going to be talking about with clients. There are some analysts that say inflation is going to lead to consumers spending less. I'm kind of saying, hold off there. So far, I mean, we just saw April retail numbers and they're fine. So we haven't seen that translate into spending. The one thing that we're hearing, though, is, for example, Target is saying that people aren't spending on appliances and furniture and TV and the big TVs and like just the big ticket items. But that's not inflation. That's just, let's return back to this new normal, because all through COVID, people were only buying big ticket items and not spending on going out to eat. They weren't spending on hotels and travel, and all that spend is coming back now, which means they're going to not buy the flat screen TV. They're going to go to Dave & Buster's, which is, a return to normal, if you will. So I think that's actually a good story.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. It's like all of the normal lessons of inflation or recession are kind of out the window when you haven't done anything for the past 2 years. So our
Right.
behaviors are just inherently different. The way that we behave, with the rising prices is probably not the same as it would have been if this happened in 2018. But James, you said something. You're going to Dave & Buster's. That's great, because guess what? We're going to be talking about casual dining recovery and experience and, dining out, which, let's be, Dave & Buster's. It has food, it has drinks, and it has fun. All of the things that we are craving. So, going into this also, I think a lot of people are excited and interested to hear about how the restaurants are doing, because one of the 2 to 3 hardest hit sectors during the pandemic is finally seeing its rebound. So I'm excited to be talking about this casual dining recovery. Foot traffic to casual dining and like sit down restaurants is now 10% below 2019 levels, which honestly, at this point, I count anything between like 10 to 12% as back to normal.
Right.
Would we like to see it above 2019 levels? Yes. And again, I'm putting a lot of faith and stock into the warmer weather. But F&B sales adjusted for inflation are 9.7% higher than February 2020. So clearly, again, kind of to your point, inflation, new normal, whatever that means, we're buying less on TVs. But you know what? I'm going to go out to dinner with that friend I haven't seen in, 2 years, and we're going to go out to dinner and it's going to be a great time. So I don't know. I think that is awesome. Great news that I'm excited to talk about. Plus also help contribute to that by dining out a lot.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm excited to talk about, and again, points to a lot of this recovery, is that rents are up and vacancy is down. Just talking straight up about retail fundamentals, they are painting all of this, this positive story that we've been talking about. This is welcome news for a lot of people. So, not to get too much into the weeds, but just to kind of illustrate how positive this has been, our U.S. net absorption for all retail totaled 21.8 million square feet in the first quarter. And that's coming off of an already impressive Q4 at 28 million square feet. So we're seeing a lot of demand. The past 12 months has seen the highest absorption number since 2017. So clearly people are out there just, snatching up all of this vacant retail space, which is fantastic. The share of e-commerce is even kind of dropping a little bit as people head back to the stores. And all major markets have seen a drop in vacancy, which is, again, really impressive and great. I love going to Recon and being able to tell people all the good news.
Yeah. There's definitely a good story there. I would say the biggest headwind is like inflation and how that's going to shift things.
100%.
So,
we're still in a lot of global uncertainty too, obviously, with all
well,
of this.
yeah.
So still very much interesting times. By no means is it a rosy picture everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Taylor, those are the trends. Those are the top 5 trends that we're talking about with clients going into ICSC. But I think it's time to talk about how we're going to personally survive ICSC 2022. What do you think?
Perfect. This is really the valuable information from this show. If I'm going to be honest, everyone needs these tips and tricks.
It is time for hot tips for ICSC survival. So, like, a part of ICSC is panels and presentations. And I should say, plug here, if you're at the conference on Sunday, 2:15 at the Win, I will be moderating an omni-channel innovation panel, which should be a lot of fun. It's in Lafitte 1 and 2, 2:15 at the Win. But that event, the ICSC event, is not really known for educational sessions. What it's really known for is deal making. So ICSC is all about the meetings. So it's 2 days of meetings. People try to pack in as many 30-minute meetings as they can into 2 days. So it is a real marathon. So I wanted to make sure we got through this thing together and collect some hot tips for ICSC survival. If you're watching live, feel free to throw in your hot tips in the chat as we go, and we'll definitely mention them. So I posted on LinkedIn yesterday asking for people to kind of give their advice for ICSC attendees. So we're going to kind of go through some of those, and we're going to add in some of our own. So first off, from David Ebling of Ebling Communications, and we know David pretty well. He works with JLL. He said, allow yourself to smell the roses and enjoy the atmosphere, and don't over schedule yourself. I always go in saying this year is going to be different. I'm not going to over schedule myself. And then you know what happens? You
overschedule yourself.
We go crazy. We're doing 12 podcasts in 2 days. And that's not that's in addition to the dinners, the breakfasts, the happy hours, double booked happy hours. We're going to try to go from one to the other. It's craziness.
Always is, but that is I guess that's part of the spirit. But, this year we do have all of the podcasts in the past. Maybe that reduces the amount that you get brought into different meetings. So maybe it all just kind of evens out. I don't know. We'll see.
That's true. So up next is from Heather Levesque, who we know at JLL. Her hot tip: bring a travel size humidifier for your room. She said it's a game changer if you're not used to the dry climate. She also says you can ask the hotel for one, but they do charge. She said at Venetian, it's about $30 a day, and sometimes they run out. So, be aware of that. How big is a travel size humidifier?
Could not tell you. Don't know. But hopefully maybe it sounds like this is something she does annually. Maybe we can ask to take a picture. She
Yeah,
can
yeah,
take a
yeah,
picture and we'll report back. That we'll get back to you next week.
yeah. We need to see what that travel size humidifier looks like. Also, I myself am famous for being the person who refuses to check luggage. So I really limit myself. If it doesn't fit in the carry-on, it's probably not coming.
Yeah, mine's gonna be like I will always prioritize another pair of shoes. You really kind of, I think, got to balance it out. If you wear something a little uncomfortable, I don't know, having options in the shoe department with how much walking there is no joke.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Shoes. So Ashley Casey with Pico, she had some great advice. So she said comfy shoes,
Yep.
and even as a backup. So maybe you're wearing nice shoes and you've got comfy shoes in a bag with your like go bag. Bring a phone charger,
Oh,
eye
that's a good one.
drops.
Yeah,
Yeah. Phone charger's huge. I have like a battery pack that'll charge my
same.
phone 2.5 times. Always carry that. Ashley also said take diligent notes and keep up with them. And she said maybe you take photos of your notes so they're all on your phone, which is a great idea.
That is interesting. I'm pretty sure one year I lost my notebook, and that was like okay. It's hard to recall from recon when you or I'm sorry, it's not recon anymore. Vegas, ICSC
Right.
Vegas. It's hard to recall because you are meeting with so many different people. So I feel like normally I'd be like, yeah, no, I remember what we talked about. I feel like it can get a little blurry, so I like that one.
For me, a big part of it is having paper. So the day before I go, I'll print out my schedule on paper and all of my meeting. So we do podcasts, but if they're not podcasts, like just my notes for every meeting, because I'll always prep what I want to talk with each person about, and then it's all in paper, so I can write it all in there. I have it in one folder, so when I bring it home, there's just no worrying about I got to find it because I used to like bring PDFs on my iPad and try to mark on them, and paper's still the best.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
So the next one from Ashley is one that I follow myself. Set multiple morning
Yep.
alarms. Do you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have I'll set my iPad, my iPhone, and my watch.
Yeah, it's just like that's the last place that you want to accidentally wake up 45 to an hour afterwards with just how much distance it is from the hotel to the convention center to just like tightly scheduled meetings. Yeah, make sure you're up on time. That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And I've, back in the day, I would always set wake up calls. Do people do that anymore? I stopped doing it when I had the phone and the watch. I felt like I could just do it myself.
I think it's still a thing, and it's actually, I feel like, a really great idea. I have not done it in years and years, but maybe.
Yeah, I used to do it like every morning to get up. But anywho, Ashley, one more piece of advice: network a lot. Business development keeps happening after show hours. Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
You kind of like, I mean, I consider my job to just learn things from people and share things with people. So that does not stop. I mean, that happens just as much, over dinner or happy hour as it does during the day.
Definitely.
So let's see. So Greg Parsons from Spirit Halloween has got some good advice. Some of these we've already mentioned, some that we haven't yet. One is engage with people in the taxi line, at the hotel check-in, at the airport, etc. So what do you think about that, Taylor? Are you engaging with people at the hotel line?
No, no, I'm not.
You need
That's
your
my
Taylor time.
That's my quiet time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't talk to me. I don't think maybe I have talked to someone at the taxi line later in the evening, like, oh, we just had dinner, we're going home, or we're at the happy hour and going to a dinner. Maybe I won't talk to someone in that line. But if it's in the morning or if it's like the calm before the storm of like a happy hour / dinner, no,
Here's
staying
what
internal.
Here's one thing that I will do, and I have done, is I'll be in line for a taxi, say from my hotel to the convention center, and there's 3 people behind me, and they're all going to the same place, I'll be like, hey, do you guys want to just come in my taxi, with me? And so you meet new people that way, and you can always be nice and just pay for it yourself, not be splitting it with people and all that.
Yes.
And so that's a good way to meet people. One time I met a magician
Worth
who
it.
was doing magic at the convention. I didn't even know this, but I guess they had a performer going around doing magic. So that was fun.
That I find like, yes, that was worth you splitting a cab for. That's not in the realm of, I would assume, people you normally talk to. So I think that's great.
Well, here's another hot tip from Greg at Spirit Halloween. Send a handwritten thank you note to everyone you meet with. Is that something you would do?
No, but I appreciate
the sentiment is great.
Thank you. The sentiment, then it's kind of like an old school sentiment. I love it. Everyone likes getting a note. I would say ICSC Vegas is something. I just feel like I'd be spending a week writing notes.
Well, that's true. That's true. Because like in 2 days, if you're doing 30-minute meetings back to back, that's a lot of people. I used to do some handwritten notes. What I'm finding now is that so many people work from home or they work remotely that if you send a letter to somebody's office, like if somebody wanted to send me a letter, they would assume that I work at the JLL Indianapolis office and look up the address. It would never come to me because I go into that office like once a year. So I'm kind of understanding, like, I don't have people's home addresses, so I'm not going to be sending them letters. For me, what I like is a just sincere email with like, hey, it was great to meet with you. Like talking about X, Y, and Z. Like specifically, I love learning about your new project in San Diego or whatever it was. Like I like keeping that conversation going and not just writing a generic email. But I think a heartfelt email is just fine.
Yeah, I agree. And nice. It's good for you too to be like, right, they were talking about this project. Love to know more about it too. I think it helps you, or not only is it just like a nice professional courtesy, but it helps you and your mental capacity to remember all of the things and the people.
Yeah, no, I will say though, people will remember Greg if he does, the fact that you get a handwritten note. Here's a good one. Next up is Beth Azor, somebody who has also done handwritten notes in the past. I don't know if she's still doing them, but that is a real memorable thing. I've gotten notes from her after meetings in the past. So Beth Azor, which I think everyone in ICSC knows, she's known as a canvassing queen. And she does she's very visible. She does a lot of ads in like the ICSC magazine and stuff like that. So she had a lot of great advice. One of them was grab a limo at the end of the day and invite some strangers / new friends who are in the long cab line to join you. So it's a way to surprise and delight some random people. I think that's great. I've had other people do that for me. I've never personally gotten a limo to go, back to the hotel. What do you think, Taylor?
Yeah, especially if there's a magician. Yes.
Yeah, so I've done the cab thing, but that means you're still waiting in line. No, I think that's great. I think that's great advice from Beth. She said she's already started drinking extra water. I mean, hydration is key.
Number one.
She's also big on mints. Because you're close talking with a bunch of people, it gets loud in there. You want to make sure your breath is fresh. I think that's great advice.
I like that one also.
What are you carrying as far as food?
Normally I have some kind of like not great Cliff Bar or some kind of, energy bar that like normally, honestly, I would probably not eat. But sometimes you are just like, oh, I need to eat something. And so I'll have a couple of those. And if I need it, great. So, and you know what the hardest one is the breakfast, which now that we're staying in a new hotel, I'm going to have to find my spot because at the Venetian, there was always like a acai bowl place. And I would wake up especially early to make sure I had time to wait in line and wait for it for like 15 minutes. But it was huge. It was just like a kind of like a normal breakfast. Huge for my, ability to start the day. So I'm going to need to find a new breakfast spot because a Cliff Bar does not work for breakfast.
Well, I have some thoughts on that that we'll get to in a little bit. I have some breakfast thoughts. So, but you're right. Breakfast is key. You might not get lunch. That should be one of the tips is, you know, the road to lunch is paved with good intentions. You may intend to get to lunch, but you look up and it's 5 p.m. and you just missed it. That happens
Yes.
to me a lot at this conference, especially. So Carrie Bob posted on LinkedIn, have an elevator pitch ready when people ask what you do. Taylor, what do you do?
Haven't you listened to the entire podcast that we recorded about what a day in the life of a retail researcher? So,
Yeah, but that was 60 minutes long. What's your 15-second elevator pitch?
mine is covering retail research trends across the country. Let me tell you about our 5 that I'm going into: urban recovery, food recovery, casual dining. Oh, I feel like I'm on like what is it, like the grocery sweep? Like I got to run and find all of my ingredients as
Right.
quickly as possible. But I think for
Yeah.
this one too, maybe in non-Vegas life, I wouldn't necessarily like, hey, this was the most recent report I did. But I think actually in Vegas that helps. I'm like, yeah, so you know what I've been talking a lot about? Urban recovery. That's stuff that I like watch closely. And I
Yeah.
think I would kind of that's my little elevator pitch that's
So
now
Taylor,
become like 2 minutes long.
when I give presentations, I say, my name is James Cook, and my job is to think about the future of retail, which is great for presentation. But if I'm in an elevator, escalator with somebody and they say, what do you do? And I was like, I think about the future of retail.
Yeah, like
Suddenly I
yeah.
sound pretentious.
That and then yeah, you're just exactly. You're like that. Oh, so you do nothing. Got it.
Kevin says, great stuff. Looking forward to seeing you in Vegas. Yes, I know Kevin. I don't think we've ever met in person. So that will be awesome to see him. Hot breakfast tip. You know what they have in Vegas? They have In-N-Out. eBerry says, I heard In-N-Out has good breakfast.
Good to know. Good to
Yeah, we'll
know.
have to check that. I didn't even know In-N-Out had breakfast.
Everyone has breakfast. Everyone's got like this is obvious an egg McMuffin version.
Right.
I feel like
Okay.
that's,
So the hot tip that everybody gives that we've already heard is wear comfortable shoes. So hold on a second. Do you have your shoes with you?
I somewhere, not in grabbing distance, but I do have those.
So Taylor and I both have JLL. Wait, here it is.
There you go.
JLL branded Nike Airs, red, that everybody who's working the JLL booth is going to be wearing. So these are comfy shoes. Are you wearing these out, or are you going to like have them in a bag and throw them on once you get there?
I think that, or maybe like second day, I wear the sneakers all day. The first day, I generally don't wear, something a little bit fancier. Fancier is not the right word, but they will be in my bag and they are very airy. They're quite nice.
Yeah, they're great. I test drove them once just to make sure they'd work. They feel wonderful. They feel like you're walking on a cloud.
Yep.
Apparently Nike makes a good shoe, Taylor.
Who knew?
Okay, so we talked about carrying water, carrying power bars. That's big for me. My biggest tip of all, if I could say one mistake that I made several years in a row, is don't go hard on night one. Because you're going to get invited to dinners and happy hours. And it's like, I'll be there from Sunday through Wednesday. And if I go hard on Sunday, I'm not 18. I will be dead. So we just have to be very careful about not looking. And it's Vegas. So it's the place where everybody goes hard. So
yeah. And even like in the beginning of like the first drink of the night, like after your first day. So it's still a long night. Like the day is not nearly over. You've still probably got like 6 more hours from your last like official meeting.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So yeah, just I'm really gonna be like alternating with water. We'll see what happens, but alternating water with drinks, or I don't know. We'll see. So Taylor, you get to the convention center. That center is like 2 miles long. So my next hot tip is something new that has really just come about in the past year or so, and that is Elon Musk's Boring Company has built a convention center loop underground. Check this out. So there are 3 stations now. There's a west, central, and south. So you can, instead of walking from one convention center to the other, you can go to one of these 3 stations, and for free, if you're a convention attendee, I think you have to show your convention badge. They will drive you in a Tesla underground in this tunnel to one of these stations.
I'm very excited about this, and I
Yeah.
can't wait. This might be one of the things I'm most excited for.
Yeah, me too. Like, this is really cool. Right now it's free for attendees. I don't think they run it all the time. They just run it during conventions. Like, I've not seen any publicity about this at all. I had to do some digging to figure out this is happening. Watch, we get there and they're not doing it.
No, I mean, yes, it's always a possibility, but we won't. I have high hopes, or I have
It's
hopes.
Their website says they run during all big conventions. It's 1.7 miles of tunnel. It's free for attendees. It says they can do a capacity of 4,400 passengers per hour.
It's impressive. Super
Yeah.
cool. And also, for anyone who's ever gone, the traffic is no joke in Vegas, and it just kind of feels like you can. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten to the convention center in 10 minutes, and then I've also gotten there in 50. So it's a real crapshoot. So if I can go in a tunnel in a Tesla, sure, sign me up.
So here's my next plan. So the West station, which was in that video, I think that was the first station in the video. Right next to that is the new location of Bagel Mania, which is a 10,000 square foot bagel experience. Bagel Mania has been in Vegas since 1989, but this is like their new flagship location on Convention Center Drive. It's like a bagel experience. The videos look awesome. I mean, it's a bagel shop, but they also have like a bar. And I
Of
think they
course
have
they
gaming.
do.
I think they have gaming too.
Of course they do. And I'm sure when we go at like 8 o'clock in the morning, someone will be drinking there, either starting their day or ending it.
So we're staying at Resorts World, which is just down the way from this station. So the plan, breakfast sandwich, we want our carbs and protein in sandwich form.
Yes.
Gonna get a coffee, gonna get a water. That's gonna propel us into the day.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we need. And that's what we're going to get. I'm determined because, again, I really think a good breakfast has been key for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Taylor, any other hot tips for you? Vegas survival tips?
Yeah. Go outside. Truly, go outside once. The convention center, while gigantic with lots of bright lights, at some point you just feel like you have literally been inside all the time. Plus, Vegas is a very inside place. We don't normally have the time to just like walk the strip outside. So you really are going from, gigantic hotel to gigantic hotel. It's also going to be very hot, but truly just go outside. Take a 15-minute break, go outside, see the sun, breathe non-convention air, and then go back inside. It's just a nice reset. I think that's like helped me a lot of just like a deep breath away from everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Now it is going to be like in the mid to high 90s some of
Yes,
those days.
it would be quite hot. Maybe you want to make it a 5 to 10 minute break outside rather than the 15-minute. But maybe for some people it'll be really exciting. People who live in colder climates. It's a dry heat, James. Remember, for Heather's advice, we all need humidifiers.
All right. Well, you heard it from Taylor. Look directly into the sun to energize your body. And that's been our hot tips for ICSC survival. So Taylor, one of the things that, I was saying, you always go into ICSC with this idea of you're not going to overdo it. I think we're going crazy this year. We have I'm calling it the podcast challenge. So in our booth, in our JLL booth, which if you go to the center hall at the convention, we're right in the front. You'll see that big JLL booth. Within that booth, once you go in the front entrance, to the left, there's going to be a podcast area set up where we're scheduled to be recording, Taylor and I, a bunch of live podcasts. We booked interviews every hour that the floor is open. And we're talking to people like George Chen, who's the founder and executive chef of China Live, which is this food hall, Asian or Chinese food hall in San Francisco. Todd Zaplowski, who's the developer of First Street Napa. Tom McGee, who you guys probably know, is the CEO of ICSC, and a whole bunch more people. Taylor, you're going to do some of them. I'm going to do some of them. We're going to do some jointly. We've got a whole different configuration going on this year. We've got this booth. Is there anybody you're excited to be talking to for your podcast interviewing?
Honestly, I think it's like a really great lineup. We've got some retailers, we've got F&B, we even have some, capital markets folks. I think we get a real wide range of people. So I am super excited about it. Plus some JLLers too. We've got some JLL F&B focused people. We've even got someone from the Flex, our new JLL by Flex or Flex by JLL. Sorry, I should probably know that better. But hearing all what's going on, all the new stuff and both retail, but also I would just say the built environment more generally, which I think is great. So it's going to be a real well-rounded 12 podcast challenge.
Yeah, another one I'm excited about is Chris Karuna with Avocado Mattresses. So that's a DTC brand that's opening up physical locations.
Yeah, they're expanding all over the place too. So it'll be great.
So those podcasts are going to be recorded live, but the only place you're going to be able to hear them is on the Where We Buy podcast. So you can go to wherewebuy.show. We're going to be releasing probably a new interview every week following ICSC Las Vegas. Probably best way to do it is to go on Spotify or the Apple Podcasts app and just subscribe to Where We Buy. And like I said, we're going to be doing an episode a week after the show for 12 weeks. So do you think we can do it? You think we're actually going to make it through 2 full days of back-to-back podcasts?
Yes, but it will not be without its scheduling challenges. Someone will be late, someone won't make it. I'll be curious to see how we kind of end up. There's just like no way everyone who's scheduled for that time that we're recording it at that time, if that makes sense.
So one of Taylor's jobs is going to be to text people to remind them to show up, and we're going to email them in advance. We'll see how it goes. I feel pretty good about it. I think everybody, the show Where We Buy has got a pretty loyal following, and I think people, everybody we invited really wanted to do it, and was excited about doing it. So I think that's going to be awesome. We are also releasing our new urban retail report. We just released our food and beverage report, which you can download for free at jll.com. If you just go to jll.com and go to the trends and insights section, a lot of what we were talking about today on the dining trends are all covered more in depth in that report. And again, check out the Where We Buy podcast. Go and subscribe now so you won't miss any of our podcast marathon from ICSC.
You can also hit the subscribe button in YouTube so you make sure that you know when all of these beautiful episodes come out. And if you click on the bell icon, you get notified when new show comes out. You can also follow us on the JL Retail page on LinkedIn.
And we're going to be back next week. eBerry and Akute and Keisha Virtue are going to be hosting. We're going to be recovering. I may be confined to my bed for a week. But we do new episodes every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern. We're at everythingweknow.show. That URL will bring us to us on YouTube, or you can follow JLL Retail. So Taylor, what do you know about how bagels are made in Las Vegas as opposed to how bagels would be made in, say, New York City?
Oh, I am so glad you asked. This is a complicated answer.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
That eBerry and Keisha are going to tell you all about next week.